sometimes the addiction is a means. It's actually a solution that's temporary, that they're trying to fill. So they're trying to solve an inner problem using outward means. So it's self-soothing behavior, or I can say this. I can actually say this. It's a normal response to abnormal circumstances. Addiction. It's a normal response to abnormal circumstances. What do I mean by that? Most people that suffer addiction have immense amount of suffering from one of three areas. How many of you have heard of ACEs? ACEs. Adverse childhood experiences. So they've experienced or they've witnessed violence. They have experienced or witnessed abuse, neglect, losing a loved one. And there's no one there to fill up the space of that loss. This is a predisposition to addiction, and any type of addiction. So ACEs, this is one of the first things you look at. Another thing that you can look at, and there's a really, really good book written by, his name is Bruce Alexander. Have you ever heard of Rat Park? He did all these experiments on rats. What would make them addicted? And he came to a lot of very relevant conditions, and he has a theory that dislocation is a predisposition to addiction. So what's dislocation? Concrete loss. You lose a family member. You lose your culture, your traditional spirituality. He also said loss of freedom. Like people who go to prison, they don't have ways of finding joy and meaning in their life. It predisposes you to addiction. All right, it sets the table for the person. And also a lack of opportunities. If a person has a lack of opportunities, addiction many times is the very next step. All right? And then lastly, just trauma. Trauma is a psychological wound. It's a psychological, so in other words, like you have an outward wound and it needs to be treated and healed. Same thing psychologically. If you have a psychological wound and it never gets healed, predisposition to addiction. You see where I'm going? Nobody wants to be addicted to anything. But because of the world that we live in, the breakdown of culture, right? The breakdown of family ties, the support structures. Modernity is very, very good at breaking down spirituality. It just becomes about the hustle every day. Back to work, 8 hours, back home, right? Modernity breaks down what normally would make you a human being. Breaks it down.